Hello, Bardo man.
I am here now.
Okay, don't be
I have to
so.
run over to the other computer and swing my microphone over.
Okay. Do your thing. Well, I left myself two different notes. One says discussion page 78, and the other one says halfway through page 79. So you got a clue?
I have us marked at halfway page through page 79.
Yeah, okay. Hey, Nisha, how are you doing? You reading tonight?
Yes.
Wonderful. Yeah, so maybe what we can do is start with one can transform. Oh yeah, I remember this now. One can transform. That's the second paragraph from the top, and that leads us into the even though the absolute, which is where I think we stopped. But let's do that. Are you ready to read, Bardaman?
I'm just trying to find the pages.
79.
Oh, this is weird.
Oh, you must be on a PDF, Bardo man.
Yes, I am. How'd you know?
They have different page numbers?
A bit, but
Oh,
this PDF reader that I'm using now is one Claude recommended, and it's just a bit funny. God, it's stuck on one page here. Let me.
okay. I'll give you a heads up. We'll go 4 before you and then come back around, okay?
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll go Patricia, Sandy, Ishant, Jayesh, and then Bardaman. We'll go in a circle. This is the chapter called Activating the Astral Body. One can transform the biological machine into an apparatus for the transformation of the being by awakening the machine and bringing the work of the lower centrums into the voluntary. By reversing this cosmic apparatus for transmuting substances, we can become objectively useful in certain work. And our presence will sooner or later assume a corresponding being in direct proportion to our work obligation, should we continue faithfully each day. Pass to Sandy.
Even though the absolute cannot be aware of our individuality, we can make ourselves known to higher forces who can use us for work purposes. To choose our masters wisely is most essential. And I'll pass. Was it Tanisha next, did you say?
Yes.
Okay.
What are the substances produced by the chemical factory of the biological machine, which would be available for our work if they were not wasted by our failure to use our negativity to feed our self-invocation? Could we use these substances formed by the results of our work on ourselves for the formation of a soul? Yes.
what they are exactly is not important just now. Oh, hold on, I'll go next. Sorry.
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay. What they are exactly is not important just now. Not to waste them is what is important in our beginning work. One small thing we can do is stop all unnecessary involuntary manifestations of the moving centrum. Pass.
Bottom.
Very bottom paragraph.
Is it try this little exercise?
Yes.
Okay. Try this little exercise. Relax all the muscles motivated by the moving centrum, except those muscles actually necessary now. And at the same time, activate your interior attention, which is to say, that attention which you place from time to time upon the interior workings of the biological machine. Then bring the moving centrum as much as possible into the voluntary so that it can act as the source of negative force for this exercise.
And I would like to hear that again, please.
Try this little exercise. Relax all the muscles motivated by the moving centrum, except those muscles actually necessary now. And at the same time, activate your interior attention, which is to say, that attention which you place from time to time upon the interior workings of the biological machine. Then bring the moving centrum as much as possible into the voluntary so that it can act as the source of negative force for this exercise.
Thank you. When performing manual labor to gain the will to awaken the machine, we should use only those muscles actually necessary to do the job. We must learn to relax other muscles, particularly the head brain. Fidgeting, especially mentally, is something we should eradicate from our behavior. Pass to Sandy.
When the moving centrum is in the involuntary mode, it becomes subject to all the laws of reflex. And because the astral body is forced to become passive, it cannot form itself. To bring the astral body to life, we must, before anything else, make the organic body our passive force. Of course, we can expect resistance from the organic body. After all, hasn't it always been the active part of ourselves? Pass to Michelle.
Michelle, are you reading today?
No, I'm just listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Nishant?
Can I read this previous one?
Yes, go ahead.
When the moving centrum is in the involuntary mode, it becomes subject to all the laws of reflex. And because the astral body is forced to become passive, it cannot form itself. To bring the astral body to life, we must, before anything else, make the organic body our passive force. Of course, we can expect resistance from the organic body. After all, hasn't it always been the active part of ourselves? Over the involuntary reflexive parts of our machines, we do not and cannot have any authority, nor would we wish to. Dolphins are forced to intentionally take every breath or they die. For this reason, they are forced to sleep only a few moments at a time. We would not wish to live like this and can be thankful that the reflexive centrum maintains all automatic functions without necessitating our continual supervision. Okay, pass.
Before we go on, does anybody know anything about the dolphin physiognomy? What's
That John Lilly?
I think so, yeah. I think that was why that was his study. Do you folks know the name John Lilly and where he fits in the work of the school?
No, I don't know, John.
Well, you could read about him, you could watch some movies about him, or there are some references that EJ has made about him. And I don't know if you can look that up in the world of, internet, but his source of data about the way things work and why they work the way they do was his study, eventually his study with dolphins. He was an MD, and his study with dolphins brought out a lot of things that had been suggested by folks in the 60s, the that era, whatever we call that era, the 60s. And his studies with dolphins about floating also generated the original tanks, the flotation tanks, which Glenn and Lee owned, Samadhi Tank Company, flotation tanks. So the idea of the floating in still water comes from Lily's work with dolphins. So there's a lot of history there in that one little reference. It's okay, Bernie, we'll fit you in. So we're on page 80, and Nishant just read paragraph 4. And Jayesh is going to go next.
At the same time?
At the same time?
That's where I start, right?
Oh, yeah. Thought you meant you were going to start with Bernie at the same time. Yes, please. Paragraph
Okay.
at the same time. Thank you.
At the same time, the involuntary reflexive part of ourselves is like a wild animal in us, a continual source of negative emotion, without which at least as we begin life in this world, we would feel no motivation whatever to do anything, even for our simple survival. All human motivation for work of any kind is produced by negative emotion, especially what we think of as our most creative and artistic impulses. Without negative emotion, the machine would simply come to a complete halt until it died of sheer inactivity. And I pass.
Thank you. Bernie.
Thank you. Yes. The worst form of negative manifestations is in the mental. Human beings are enamored with their own thoughts and with the compulsive expression of those thoughts, which by one accident or another they have identified with their imaginary personality. Subjective art, by which I mean the attempt at self-expression of the imaginary emotional self, is another such maleficent manifestation of the negative force, and is destructive to the formation of the soul.
Pastor Bartleman?
It should be sufficient just to indicate the rough centrum of gravity of the idea of producing all chemical substances in the machine. It is then up to us to dig deeper, to discover for ourselves exactly how to apply this idea in a practical way to our personal work. Pass.
The whole exact science of extracting substances and transforming them into higher substances, which can fuel our invocations of the absolute, is available whenever we find ourselves in a position to really work, by which I mean not as we first arrive in financial, mental, emotional, and philosophical distress, but able to help ourselves and at the same time help the teacher in his work. Pass to Sandy.
There are ways of producing great amounts of substance, but we must use forces in quite a different way. And we must be willing to give up our ordinary organic manifestations and ideas completely, at least for a certain time, under definite direction. It could take many years to accomplish this. We must somehow buy time for our work. And I'll pass to Nisha.
In order to buy sufficient time for our work, toward the work, we must use all our resources for the rapid accumulation of substances in ways which would be impossible for ordinary man with his superstitions and tribal taboos. And this aim must, moreover, be accomplished not just casually as we would wander through the market, but with the full force of our whole being. Pass to who's next? Jayesh?
Jayesh.
Jayesh.
Thank you. For instance, it would not be lawful to borrow money to enable us to work on ourselves, and yet our work will require as many hours of preparation as would be needed to prepare ourselves as physicians, and like medical students, we must somehow in our copious spare time earn a sufficient income necessary to maintain our organic existence for perhaps a decade or two, during which almost the whole of our attention cannot be spared for our livelihood because it is almost 100% concentrated on one work aim. And I pass to Bunny.
Thank you.
Thank you. We should be advised that it will be necessary for us to embark on a form of work which will make it impossible for at least several years to provide for ourselves an outside source of livelihood. Because the fullest possible attention is necessary during this period, we must therefore find a way to subsidize this work in advance. And I pass to Pat.
Bartleman.
This period cannot be passed through more quickly. This period cannot be passed through more quickly. It is possible that one individual out of a million might just be the first person to find a way to split their force into two parts and still be able to produce the necessary transformation. But who wishes to take the gamble when the way is already known and the outcome much more certain? Pass.
Thank you. We should allow 2 to 3 years just to gather substances for work, during which we may not be able to earn our livelihood. We can collect ordinary information in ordinary life, and it would be harmful to stop everything all at once, but still, it will require a great many hours each day to accomplish our alchemical work. Pass to Sandy.
In the meantime, before we begin the alchemical work cycle, we must find a rapid and effortless way to earn a livelihood in advance, to sustain ourselves for the duration. In this work, we must become very resourceful. We are expected somehow to build up a bank account and then drop our ordinary survival efforts while we work to develop higher bodies, which will be formed around the lower centrums. And for real work, we will require 7 higher bodies, bodies which can be viewed as souls in relation to lower bodies. For a complete description of these higher bodies, See E.J. Gold, The Seven Bodies of Man. Of course, even the organic human body is a soul in relation to that of a dog. And I'll pass to Nishan.
I like the little curveball you threw there, Sandy, with the one at the end of bodies.
Okay.
That was nice. That was like, okay, right on.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
What did they call that anyway?
Footnote.
Footnote. Okay. Yeah,
I guess
thanks
I
for
could
that.
have described it. Yeah.
No, that was good.
No,
I knew it was something. I knew that number one there meant something. And you went to it so quick, it was like as though it was written right there. Very well done.
We will have to develop the resourcefulness to maintain ourselves and our work, and in the process, our work to prepare ourselves for the work must not suffer or take second place. In the work, we cannot earn our livelihood in ordinary ways. If we are not willing to risk everything now for the sake of the work, why should the teacher risk his own work to help us prepare for the work? That is, if we do not, several weeks from now, lose interest entirely, pass.
Thank you. One may be quite willing to lose everything in Monte Carlo, but not for the work. In the casino, we can understand beforehand what is at stake and what we may win, but in the work, we do not really know what we may lose and what we may win. In the beginning, perhaps, we cannot understand, but maybe we can somehow smell or taste what may come of all this.
Yeah, let's stop here for a moment and just check our references. Do you recall during this weekend any references to casino, Reno, trips? Anybody catch any of that in the weekend workshops?
Like when the Reno run was spoken of?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know what that reference is?
No.
Okay. Reno is in the state of Nevada, and it's legal to gamble there. And they have Las Vegas and Reno. And those are very famous gambling places. So when you go to Reno, you're obviously going for a gambling trip. EJ had several aspects of the gambling Reno trips over the period of about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years. And the casino worship workshops included the travel to Reno, the time in the casino, and the travel back. And this reference in this book, I was trying to remember the dates of everything. This book, if I'm not mistaken, is written in 91. So this is after all of our time in the Reno gambling trips. And the reference there to Monte Carlo is the famous gambling location in France.
Yeah.
Okay. It struck me today a lot stronger because we had just had those references this weekend.
You know, it's really funny, Patricia, because during the workshop today, it never even dawned on me when they talked about the Reno runs that when I was 14 years old, I ran away from home with my best friend. He needed to run away from home. I didn't, but I thought I would accompany him. And on our way back to Canada, we went from Salt Lake City, we went through Reno, and we only had change, not even $1. Went into a
Right.
gas station, and there was a slot machine, and we walked out with $15.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, I was like, look how close I was to where EJ was setting up camp, right? And I just think, well, next life.
Yeah, very, trails, overlapping trails. Yeah. It's a common story, and I think it's good to share.
Common, eh? Common?
Yes. Common stories that people have come close to the Institute before they got here, or they had heard about it, or whatever. They have references that are, linkage.
Wow.
That is not uncommon.
Wow. Nice to hear, Patricia.
Oh yeah, it's an aspect of EJ's heritage, I think, in the Gurdjieff tradition, and then there's also the heritage through the science fiction tradition, and then the heritage through the movie business tradition. So there's all kinds of linkages. You get a chance, you talk to Ken and Tony about the LA group from Cosmos Street and Norton Street, and those periods of time where the work that they did and the references that they had that brought them all together there are very, very, very strong, not necessarily this lifetime cycles.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's not uncommon.
Very groovy.
Okay, man. Don't get me started. Am I supposed to be reading something here? What page are we on?
84?
Okay, so am I on the second paragraph?
It's my turn, Pat.
Your turn. Good, Bernie.
Yes.
Yeah. On my screen, you have moved, so I didn't know it was your turn. Thank you.
For some, it is possible to retrieve the results of their own past efforts, but to gamble with counterfeit currency would cost us our life. Some pay with voluntary emotional, some with physical, some mental, some pay with all three types of currency. It is up to us to find out how to pay. Can I pass to...
Keep going, Bernie. Do another one, please.
Okay. Yes. First, we should develop just one higher body. Then we will talk seriously about developing additional higher bodies. Americans always want to start as the president. But a president, in order to be a good executive, must understand the subjective and objective needs of the workers as human beings, and at the same time balance this with the objective needs of the organization. This balance game makes the president's work almost impossible. So pass to Bardman.
Good. So, Nishant, right?
Bardo man.
Bardman. Hans.
Oh.
Good.
Of course, this desire to begin at the top and work our way down is a natural result of the conditioning given to us by our parents, who never raised us to be servants in the first place. Pass.
Is it my turn? On my screen, it's all different. They can be forgiven for this because they knew what it was like to be an involuntary slave, and they did not like it. For them, to be a servant never led to being a master. And if you try to explain it to them now, they would reluctantly have you put away somewhere nice and quiet until you came to your senses and saw life as they comprehended it. Do you guys get that paragraph?
Not quite.
You get it, Bernie? Give us your take on what this is about, that paragraph, because
First, as I am a vocational writer, I must say that this guy writes almost poetically, because it's very nice as he writes this stuff. What I entiendo, what I infer from this, understand, okay, we are programmed to always be at the top, and you know, we all know in the Middle Ages how the education went. If you wanted education, you had to be at the feet of the master. And many times pay for that education with service in every detail. But we as Westerners find that very, very, I don't get the word. It's not for us, because it's servitude. We don't understand.
repulsive.
Yes, servitude. You're a slave.
Yeah.
But it was not always that way to be seen. No?
Right.
That's how I see it.
Thank you.
And I want some help here. I'm thinking of my father, who was a bricklayer from Germany, who came over to Canada in the 50s. What it was to be an involuntary slave.
Yes.
He just did what his father told him to do, take up a trade. He was very good at it. He was an alcoholic. I don't know if he did not like it. Probably didn't like it, because why would he drink then? Why would drinking and bricklaying be his main things in life? And fishing, of course. To be a servant never led to being a master. Yeah, no, he wasn't going anywhere. And I don't think he wanted to go anywhere. He just wanted to be known as like, yeah, I'm the best bricklayer in town. And he was the best bricklayer in town. And I think he wanted to keep maintaining that and, you know, have his James Last music and, you know, party on the weekends to German music and stuff like that. And that was the end of it. So I don't know.
Okay. There's a couple of different aspects of what's being talked about here. There's the psychological, you know, social bent of wherever we were brought up and what the culture kind of dictates. And then there's the aspect of, in our individual families, what were the drives or the, let us say, wishes by our elders for us. And then there's our cultural interaction individually with what do we see, what are we supposed to do, how are we supposed to make it, what's the game here. And the descriptions that are being given are using these terms in multiple ways. To become a master, we must understand the function of the carriage. And now we're talking again about something that is not in our culture right now, the era in which you had a horse and had to be able to manage the horse and hook it to the carriage and drive the carriage. And so, you know, there's all of these, I can't remember what that word is, references. You know, there's examples of varieties of what's being described here. But I think we'll get to the substance of all of these examples as we keep going.
Thank you, Patricia.
Yeah, who's next?
Me, thanks.
Good, thank you.
To become a master, we must understand the function of the carriage and its mechanical needs, and know the horse from the inside out. Also, we must understand the driver and his needs. We must strive to study and understand our lower nature in the smallest detail before we can even consider its mastery. And
Keep going, keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
One can be a good general only if one has experienced subjectively and completely the life of a private. To understand a soldier, one must suffer as a soldier. One must know completely the potential heroism and the suffering, both subjective and objective, of everyone under one's command. I'll pass.
Okay. That's massive though, isn't it? I mean, if you think about it, you know, it's describing a general and a private, and we're referencing this as in relation to our organic machine and our interaction with our objective wishes. So it's a huge context here. I'm very grateful that it's put in a manner in which we can approach it in little pieces, because otherwise I would just be lost. Okay, who's next?
Yeah.
Thank you.
The study of our lower nature could easily require many thousands or even hundreds of thousands of years. And yet life is so short. How can we manage to overcome this little quandary? Fortunately, we happen to have hundreds of thousands of years and even trillions of years to study the machine and its life in the smallest detail, thanks to the magic of recurrence and eternal return. It should be clear why organic existence is a necessary prelude to the conscious formation of higher bodies. Of course, if human beings were naturally formed, three-brained beings, and not two-brained lower animals, who happen to be the result of genetic tampering many thousands of years ago by visitors to their planet, you could start with the astral body, which is the real first body of man.
Thank you.
Can we explore it? That's it's a big contention, no?
Well, Bernie, what does it say to you?
Well, my reaction, whatever, to this is, it can be a fact. It can be an irony. It can be something that is proposed here as an experiment to our minds. I'm not sure, because this guy is very twisted, in a good sense, twisted, no?
Yes.
But anyway, it has, at least in my personal view, that I'm very fond of neurobiologist reading. There is some facts there. The three minds, two minds, the animals. So I will, I will give that paragraph importance, yes.
Okay. Yeah, do you remember how slowly I got us to this chapter? Remember how we read just little bits for so long? And, you know, for me, activating the astral body, that in the order in this book, that's step one. And we've had what, 84 pages of preliminary conversation, really, you know, setting the scene kind of thing. And now we're down into the, well, we won't call it the nitty gritty, that would be too crude, but we're looking at steps one or maybe pre-one. Yeah. Yeah, I like the order. Thank goodness there's a little bit of order in here. My brain would be going crazy. Jayesh, yeah, go ahead.
I would like to share another thought. Maybe it's good for
Yes.
us to think about in this same lineage, but not in this exact book of Borbis. The 7 bodies, or in reality, not the bodies or mind or whatever. It is stated not in this, but in this lineage, but from other masters. It is stated that we usually are in the natural first step, where it is called the dominant ego. That is the one who is after himself only. And the next step, I don't know if that is the astral body, but the next step, I don't know if it is the astral body, but it is the possibility of seeing that condition itself. So it's the sapiens. Sapiens is the guy who knows he knows, but due probably to the Catholic tradition, in my case, is always blaming himself for not being you are wicked, you are selfish, blah 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 blah, and it's a recurrent state. And in that tradition that I'm saying, there's the first real step out of this. That is when the mind, the conscious, or the body, or whatever you make it, jumps out of that circle, and it's called the inspirational. And it always struck me that when you breathe, big breath, you climb somehow. You climb. I don't know if that is something that has to do with, in this case, the activation of the astral body, but it's a figure, at least that I can understand. So maybe it helps other on the group as it helps me. No more.
Thank you. Yeah. I think it all helps because you don't know what's going to get through and you don't know how it's going to sift out as you work with it. So yeah, I agree.
I just wanted to say that when he says that we must strive to study and understand our lowest nature in the smallest detail before we can even consider its mastery, that's really daunting because I've been aware of this for a long time, and I know I haven't studied it nearly enough. But then a couple paragraphs later, he says, well, we have trillions and trillions of years to study the machine. So that somehow gives me hope.
Yeah.
Hope. Me too. Some hope.
Thank God for that.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do it better next time. No.
I don't know if I'll live that long, though. I mean, that old. Old.
I hear you. Jayesh, Will you continue for us, please?
If you were born with a fully formed astral body, and if everything had gone right in the first place, you would have been. Then the machine would naturally be awake all the time, and none of these annoying preliminaries would be necessary. On the other hand, without the genetic tampering, no human beings would have had the opportunity for evolution in any way, shape, or form. And so they have at least something disregarding the fact that it was entirely accidental and unforeseen to be thankful for. And I pass.
Oh, sure. You think you can get away with that? Ah, you know, if you were born with a fully formed body and everything had gone right, then the machine would be naturally awake all the time. On the other hand, without genetic tampering, what are we talking about here, guys? What genetic tampering are we discussing? You know?
That's the aliens doing that, Patricia.
I don't know if that is what that is or not. I'm open to whatever it is that would have, you know, if they hadn't, according to this, then there wouldn't have been any chance for us to have an opportunity for evolution. So whatever that is, that cracks me up. This is the most comedy in one of EJ's serious books that I've read for a while.
Must be Anunnaki.
You what?
Anunnakis? The Egyptian?
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. It's not, I don't have any history with that, but yes, I know the reference.
I don't get it. Yes, can you explain it to me?
Yes. Tell Bernie.
There is somewhere I saw the video about Anunnakis and tampering.
Oh,
Okay.
you're saying that they are the ones who tampered with us. Okay.
Yeah, they fiddled with us. I think he put the word in the chat, Bernie. The
Yes.
word Anukis.
And is it a species from outer world, or what are they?
I have no idea. I was just putting in.
Oh, yeah.
Ancient aliens.
Yes.
Ancient aliens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're playing with it here.
Okay.
Okay. Who goes after Jayesh?
I usually go after Bernie.
Bernie.
Bernie. Okay, good.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was distracted.
Actually, no, I was supposed to go after Bernie, and then JS went after Bernie.
All right, you go.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
My screen keeps changing, so I don't have the picture anymore, you know?
A human being, as ordinarily found in his natural habitat, that is to say, the organic biological world, could be said to operate something like a pump, much like the kind of pump which forces liquids and gases through pipes, or pushes and pulls them upward against the force of gravity. Except that a human being operates as a pump, which happens, for reasons best known to the mathematician whose higher mental equation is manifested as this world of ours, to be necessary for the passage of higher, finer matter into the organic world as it descends from the solar absolute. That was a mouthful. That was more than I could digest.
Well, if you just take the first phrase, a human being as ordinarily found in his natural habitat could be said to operate something like a pump, and then jump down to the bottom part, which says finer matter into the organic world as it descends from the solar absolute. No, that doesn't help at all. Sorry.
It started to, Patricia.
A human being operate like a pump.
Why don't you read it again first, the whole thing, Patricia?
A human being as ordinarily found in his natural habitat, that is to say, the organic, biological world, could be said to operate something like a pump, much like the kind of pump which forces liquids and gases through pipes or pushes and pulls them upward against the force of gravity, except that a human being operates as a pump, which happens to be necessary for the passage of higher, finer matter into the organic world as it descends from the solar absolute, leaving out the phrase that has to do with the mathematician. So the human being operates like a pump, which happens to be necessary for the passage of finer, higher matter into the organic world. Okay, so the human is one of the mediums through which finer matter of the higher spaces gets to the world. I got that part from the solar absolute. I don't understand this bits about the mathematician.
I think it's saying the human beings ordinarily behave like a opposite of a pump, which is supposed to take matter from lower to higher, but we usually
Okay.
do higher to lower.
Okay.
In the next paragraph, maybe we can understand it a little bit more.
Well, you give it to us, Bernie.
It sounds like the bringing down. Is anyone getting that effect?
Yes, yes,
Thanks, Bernie. That's what I got from what you just said.
yes, I think so. We can understand the ordinary function of a human being as an energy conversion apparatus, which acts as a membrane separating one lower and 5 higher cosmoses, with himself acting as a cosmos in direct reflection of the highest cosmoses. Sorry. Now it has become more strange. I start again. We can understand the ordinary function of a human being as an energy conversion apparatus, which acts as a membrane separating one lower and 5 higher cosmoses, with himself acting as a cosmos in direct reflection of the highest cosmos, which is to say, he is everything that the absolute is not.
Okay, so seven bodies of man, or any of those, representations, if the absolute is above any and all of any of the bodies or the aspects of man, they're going to be lower by definition. They're lower than the absolute. So all of the ordinary functions of a human are already in place in this regard. This is already the actions of the human biological machine as it normally is. That's a description of it right there.
Are we like a filter?
Sounds kind of like it, huh?
But something more.
Okay, I'm going to do one more paragraph and then and then we're going to leave it for now. Is that okay?
That's okay for me. Should
we wish to cross over Jordan, And if I had my voice, I would sing you the song, Crossing Over the River Jordan, so to speak, from the mainstream river of ordinary organic life to the other river, which we call the work, we can simply reverse the ordinary downward function of the pump. This means that when we have developed the will to awaken the machine and can awaken it at will, we can use the awakened machine to draw lower forms of matter upward from the organic biological world, transforming this matter into an independently arising concentration, then directing it in a conscious return back toward its place of origin, the solar absolute. Can't hear you, Bernie.
I was not saying anything. I was thinking, maybe. My lips move, but I don't know why. My first impression is we could or can feed the absolute. Feed the solar absolute. We have the possibility, the condition somehow, to feed the absolute.
Yeah.
You know that the thing that the moon and the sun, no, you can point to the sun or you can point to the moon. Of course, that is not a physical act, no.
Right. Yeah,
That's
but I do recall there was some sections in the book earlier where it talked about the purpose of the work on the biological machine was to be able to make it a transformative machine which would re-feed the absolute, because the absolute gives all the time and doesn't have a way to take back. This is the only way to give back for it to have its absoluteness, is if the humans transform the energy. That's what I recall from earlier.
Yes.
That reminds me of Jordan River.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you.
I was on the Israel side and want to cross the Jordan River, but I couldn't.
Oh, you were physically there?
I was there in
Oh.
2006 or something. Yeah, interesting.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I like Bernie got some observer today.
I'd say that again. I didn't catch you.
Bernie got someone to observe him today. I like that.
Yes.
The brown.
You mean the little animal? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
His buddy. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? He got pal.
Yeah, I'll have to get Tamara Wilson Cloud Chamber to come in with me, and we can sing some of our Presbyterian, Baptist, Methodist, Christian functional singing, which has to do with crossing over the River Jordan.
Oh, yeah.
Big, big, big deal in Christianity. So, yeah.
Yeah, other side was Egypt and this side was Israel.
Yeah.
And Jordan is in the middle.
That's right. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it's got a huge big thing in the Christianity. I don't know what the word is for. It's not the technology, but the way in which Christianity is designed and how it's represented. You know, baptism and, you know, Jesus and all that kind of stuff. It's all around the River Jordan.
Yeah.
Yeah. My gosh, folks, it's time for us to say hello, goodbye, and see you next time. And thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, I'm so glad everyone showed up despite, you know, the workshop. Sometimes that tires people out, tires me out, but also gives me lots of energy, and it's made me understand this reading today with you all a little better.
Yeah. Goes with the workshop, huh?
Yeah, we are building up, I think, hopefully. I mean, we are building up for the
Yes.
trillions of reincarnation or
Yes.
eternity.
Yes. Well, whatever it takes. Hopefully, when you get yourself in a school, you can speed some of that up. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Wonderful to see everybody. Okay, you guys scram.
Okay,
Bye.
thanks all. See you next
Thank you,
time.
Pat.
you.
Bye.
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 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
You.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Michelle.
Bye.
Bye.
Ta-ta.
Ta-ta.
Ta-ta.